All right, so this one came out as an exclusive email for Talking Joints Memo subscribers. If you are not a subscriber, do that. It's free, but here we go for the rest of you. If there's one thing I am sure of after decades of observing prohibitionists in action, it is that they are completely full of shit. And so I haven't really been surprised by what I've seen play out over the past week in mass, where anti-cannabis crusaders are attempting to place a measure to end recreational cannabis sales on the 2026 ballot. It's no less abhorrent, but I was certainly not shocked. You see, last month, Attorney General Andrea Campbell announced that two similar referendums that aim to eliminate adult use weed commerce in the Bay State are eligible to appear on the statewide ballot. Though backers still have to gather about 75,000 signatures by November 19th and then some more after that to advance to the next review, the aggressive lunge at the billion-dollar industry made national headlines. It was all over the place. Put simply, the smugly titled Act to Restore a Sensible Marijuana Policy calls for there to still be medical dispensaries with some new rules, while everything else that everyone from public officials to activists to entrepreneurs have worked years for will be torched. The measure would also repeal the right to cultivate cannabis at home. With so much at stake, I figured those whose livelihoods rely on the adult use industry might pay close attention. After all, Massachusetts cannabis has had its share of public troubles, while the Commonwealth voters, hardly reliable supporters of progressive drug policy. Just look at the disaster which unfolded last year around psychedelics. And there is yet another reason why stakeholders ought to tune in. As it turns out, the forces that are trying to eviscerate their jobs and zap mass back to the dark ages of parking lot handoffs aren't playing fair. Over the past few days, I went to see their tactics on display on the ground and in person, and it's even scarier than I expected. A scream for this year's Halloween that no one needed. I received my first tip about a signature gatherer allegedly misleading people last Wednesday, so a week ago. She signed something that she later came to question outside of a Trader Joe's in Hanover on the South Shore. I drove down to the shopping center 2 days later on Friday and encountered the same man who she described collecting signatures to place the aforementioned anti-pot measure, along with 3 others, on next year's ballot. I didn't play an easy mark. Rather, I asked questions. First about another initiative related to housing, and then about the cannabis petition. He told me exactly what he told my source, that it makes it so they will stop throwing kids in jail for marijuana. I asked for the clipboard, which he handed over. I scanned it, and I verified he was collecting signatures for what's called an initiative petition for a law relative to regulating marijuana, version B. The language presented to prospective signers is the state's official summary of the proposal. I'll get to that in a second. The small print is difficult to read under ideal circumstances, but harder when you're carrying around groceries and fumbling a pen with cold hands on a brisk autumn day. In this case, the wording is also confusing, and the ink collector wasn't there to help, but rather to misinform. I hesitated to sign, giving him 3 chances to tell me that the referendum would shutter all recreational dispensaries. But he offered only a version of the section calling for persons 21 years of age and younger caught with 2 ounces or less to complete a drug awareness program and community service. I listened as the guy solicited the person behind me as well. An older woman, she was less inquisitive and basically just signed. She seemed to agree with his reasoning, that we need to keep kids out of jail for smoking weed, which isn't really a concern in Massachusetts. The gatherer told me that most people are like her. They just sign without asking for many, if any, clarifications. In a few days last week at that single location, he told me that he collected about 700 signatures, all of which I'm sure will now be questioned. Here's what the proposed Massachusetts marijuana ballot measure really says. All right. As for what it is really in there, we reprinted, but I'm going to read some of it to you. The summary for the initiative petition to law relative to regulating marijuana, which is, again, outrageously billed as an act to restore a sensible marijuana policy. And that's the one this is what's being presented outside of mass grocery stores. Although, please note that for some reason, the petitions that people are asked to sign don't actually include the name of the proposal. That's a matter for the Attorney General, I suppose. So here's what it says. The proposed law would change, I'm not going to do the quotes the whole time. Until I tell you otherwise, I'm reading straight from the summary. The proposed law would change the type and amount of marijuana that may legally be possessed in Massachusetts by repealing the laws that legalize, regulate, and tax the retail sale of adult recreational use in Massachusetts. The proposed law would also permit persons 21 years of age and older to possess 1 ounce or less of marijuana, including no more than 5 grams in the form of concentrate, and to gift or transfer to another person 21 years of age or and older, 1 ounce or less of marijuana, including no more than 5 grams in the form of concentrate. The proposed law would also impose a civil penalty of $100 and forfeiture of the marijuana for the possession of marijuana between the weight of 1 and 2 ounces. So 1.5 ounces, gone. All right, back to quoting. For persons 21 years of age and younger, the proposed law would make the possession of 2 ounces or less of marijuana a civil infraction subject to a $100 fine. Back to infractions. Forfeiture of the marijuana, completion of a drug awareness program and community service, and notification of their parent or legal guardian of the offense and penalties. The proposed law would allow currently licensed adult recreational marijuana businesses to apply on an expedited basis. How nice of them. To become a licensed medical marijuana dispensary and to sell their remaining inventory of adult recreational marijuana to medical dispensaries. The proposed law would retain the Cannabis Control Commission, but modify its authority so it would regulate only the medical marijuana market. The proposed law states that if any of its parts are declared invalid, the other parts would stay in effect, and it would take effect on January 1st, 2028. So you'd have to get all your cannabis purchases in before then. Okay, finally, taking action against the proposed ballot measure. So following the video that I recorded outside of the aforementioned Trader Joe's gaining some traction, I started to just receive a ton of messages about other questionable signature drives. Interestingly, people are reporting hearing strikingly similar language all around the state, namely comments about how the initiative would end the plight of young people doing hard time for weed. I wonder how they're getting that message to tell people. We'll have to figure that out. On this Monday, I followed up another tip, this one to a Walmart in Weymouth. Though not too far from Hanover, this time I encountered 2 different canvassers, each with their own unique pitch. It seemed like these guys are willing to say whatever it took to sway people, which is understandable since they're paid for each successful signature obtained. I was told they're trying to put marijuana back on the ballot so the people can decide, as if the people didn't already decide. 2016. I also heard the other guy telling a man who he was pitching that people are coming here from out of state and buying ounces to bring back, and that the proposed measure aims to bring an end to such activity. It is a nonsense rationale for a worthless proposal tackling a non-existent underlying problem that this referendum seeks to address. And it's no surprise if you consider who's behind it. The main proponent and multiple original petition signers listed on the anti-cannabis proposal are district committee members of the state Republican Party, the Mass GOP. And last week, they were out talking shit. Here's what one of them, the spokesperson, told the Cannabis Business Times. The signature phase is going well. It's on track. The whole process, the initiative petition process, it isn't easy. While we need to collect 74,000 signatures, we actually have a goal of collecting over 100,000. And that's because there are 2 different vetting processes that the signature sheets, the petitions, will go through. Well, now they're going through another vetting process. One proponent behind the measure to close rec shops also, by the way, served as a consultant for the campaign against Question 4 to legalize and regulate psychedelics en masse, which went down in flames last year. If cannabis advocates are wondering if they should be concerned about a repeal measure, they should ask psychedelics advocates how sitting around doing jack shit while their opponents trash them from town halls to airwaves statewide worked out for them. Meanwhile, some people with skin in the game are taking action, like the team at Canna Provisions printing up flyers to inform customers about the stakes. The Institute for Cannabis Science also stepped up, instructing people to contact the Secretary of the Commonwealth, gave the number about illicit election activity, and also to contact your town clerks to have your name expunged if you're tricked into signing. Also, ICS would like to hear your story. And Jonathan Ferguson, the CEO of Green Valley Analytics, a testing lab, well, they reached out to the office of the chair of the Joint Committee on Cannabis Policy and was told to contact the Secretary of the Commonwealth's Election Division in particular. He then emailed to inform them that many voters have been approached under the false impression that they are signing something to enhance rather than dismantle the state's regulated system. He noted, this type of misleading representation risks invalid signatures and undermines the integrity of the ballot process. And I'm on the job as well. People on social media have reported many more canvasser sightings, in some cases using potentially problematic tactics like completely baiting and switching, saying they're signing for one thing and giving them the other. And they reported this all over the place. Hannaford and Taunton, Market Basket locations in Shrewsbury, Georgetown, and Bellingham, among other places, and then all the way out to Western Mass in the Berkshires. I'll follow up with some of them, and I encourage everyone to ask questions and know what they're signing, and to sound alarms where there's smoke. If this message is as sexy as the marijuana haters say it is, then they shouldn't have to bend the truth to get people behind it.